has Viking did.
Hi, Matt.
Hey, Margaret. Dan.
How are you?
Good, good.
I'm trying to see what I did here.
Thea.
Yeah, hey Thea.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Doriandra, you're the host, right?
Yes,
Are you?
ma'am.
Okay. It says something about reclaiming host, and I don't want to do that.
No need to.
Okay.
I need to leave my camera off because my internet won't stay connected if it's on.
Yes, ma'am. Nice to see you. Lovely scarf. I love your hat.
Must be cold in there.
She's in Nanook.
Yeah, we keep our house cold.
Gail, how are you doing? Things are going well? Can't hear you.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, things are going as well as they can. Mom's still in the hospital, but getting better every day. So
I saw you posted a picture of her with the big smile on her face, so that's always a nice thing.
she's a remarkable human. I can't believe she's smiling through all this, but
Yeah, she looked amazing and bright and beautiful despite the conditions of what she was in. So good stuff.
Okay, well, welcome everybody to the long-awaited board meeting. I don't think we've had one since December. Or no, since November, actually. I've been going back through the notes. We do have a lot to cover tonight. So let's hope that we can squeeze it all in. We do have the first 10 minutes for public comment. Do we have any public comment that we need to hear? All right. Claire, are you here?
Doesn't look like she's on yet.
No, let's okay, so Doriandra, you are first up in our agenda. So I know you have a lot to cover, so let's hear what you got.
Okay, I'm just writing to Julie Bowman real quick. It looks like she's trying to jump in.
She is. I talked to her earlier. She wants to come to the meeting.
Yeah, she didn't realize the link is the same as all of our links, so I just let her know. So, okay. We'll hope she jumps on. Okay, hello folks. Good to see you all. So I think let's start with grants because that's the most pressing issue I have. Somebody's got their chattering going on. I can hear something in the background. So, oh, it stopped. Okay. All right. Basically the OHA grant, which we were waiting on, which was a extension of our existing emergency preparedness grant, has come through. That will be funded to us in about 2 weeks. And we were funded a total of $18,750 for that. So that brings that grant total to $50,000. We've got then about, give or take some change, about 17, oh, I'm sorry, add up, about 19,750 to use on that. So that's going to stretch us through the biennium end, which is June of 2025. So with that addition, with that extension of our grant, they also provided us with a brand new CDC grant, which, although under the same bucket, had different administration rules. So we were kind of dismayed to hear that that wasn't what's considered a front-loading grant. So it's good and bad news. The good is that we will have that $75,000 stretched out through 18 months moving forward. That'll end with the same biennium cycle as the OHA. So we'll have until June of 2025 to count on those funds. The bad news is with that, it changed our capacity for infrastructure. That was the main purpose of that grant. It was to keep myself, Kelsey, our social media manager, and our new bookkeeper paid. So I did some toggling of the grants and am able to allocate funding for Kelsey and, oh, just a second, Julie's, there she is. Kelsey and our new bookkeeper, her name is Vicki Lynn Belshaw. So their salaries will be coming from that portion of our emergency resiliency grant. So that's okay. What it means for me though is to have to reduce back to half-time or part-time, which is kind of a blow at this point, given the complexities of how much I'm trying to do and grant structuring. So I am going to meet tomorrow with our liaison at the Oregon Center for Nonprofit. She's kind of the brain and the all grant compliance queen of helping sort through these things. So I'll have a good consultation with her tomorrow. Find the sweet spot within that.
Pardon me, could everybody mute their self so that we don't have the back noise,
Thanks.
please? Sorry to interrupt you, Joanna.
That's all right.
Hi, Joanna. Can you put yourself on mute? Do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
It's down in the left-hand corner there.
Great. Okay. It looks like everyone's muted. Thank you, guys. So yeah, for me, I guess it means to just kind of keep my head down and work harder to get more grants, which will then change our structure. And so I want to go through those grants that I'm working on and give an overview of what that looks like. I've done a lot of research on what's available for us right now and what was closely aligned with our values and our goals and needs of the Whitaker. And there's so much out there to choose from, which is great news as well. But the main ones I'm trying to focus on will keep us in alignment with our disaster resiliency program. I feel like that's a very smart move because we've garnered incredible support from the City of Eugene emergency management team, CERT, eWeb. Folks are really active and engaged right now in this topic. And so I feel like it's a good fit for us. And it doesn't mean that takes away from smaller art grants or pieces like potentially the work that Dr. Lewis did about the cultural aspect of our areas. So to jump in, there's been 3 grants that I have done and put in the works. We're waiting on 2 now to hear. The one that is coming up right now that we'll know soon is this what's called the CHIP. It's Community Health Improvement Plan. And that's a thing where it had to be aligned with Lane County Public Health standards for community improvements. And that's the one I think I mentioned to you folks before. It's the bucket gardening, which also aligns with our emergency resiliency because it will empower folks in apartment buildings to have simple gardening like on their patios, which will really align with one of Lane County Public Health concern is that we have more access to affordable food. So that should, I have a feeling we may get that. And again, it's all, I say this a lot, but it's just absolutely salient. When Ian first talked to me about this position, he said, grants are as clear as mud. And I just like, I chuckle to myself every time I think of that, because it's pretty clear how you just don't know what's going to happen. So if we get that, that is going to be a reimbursement type grant, which proves its own challenges in that we will have a funding period from spring to the end of September, and that'll be where we'll teach the gardening and we'll work in the community garden plot. And you know, to start that grant, it's kind of challenging, but Thea and I have talked a lot about it, and she's very supportive of. She'll be part of that in terms of teaching and helping develop curriculum. With that, we feel pretty confident that we can get that off the ground by partnering with Home Depot, potentially the new hardware store that's in the Whitaker. Yay! So Rexius will be able to get some donations to get us off the ground. And then I've partnered us there with that project with the Willamette Food and Farm Coalition, and then also Whitaker Community Market, and then the city of Eugene. So we'll have 3 partners that we love and we work with well, and so we'll be able to like pay them for seeds, training modules, things like this. So I feel pretty solid that we'll make it on that one. Moving on to away from that, the second one is an interesting AARP grant, which would be, I've chosen to do the enhancing digital connectivity to prepare for emergencies. And this is kind of a wide spectrum, but I think that Margaret and I talked through it the other day, and I think the basis of that one will be to provide community with chargers, which these are these interesting units that plug into a car. And, you know, we could have gone solar, but given these are kind of lack of sun for much of the year, it seems that most people would have access to a car. It hooks to a car battery, then that charges the unit, and then it charges your cell phone, and so you're able to stay connected. So that's the basis of that one. That will include a lot of community engagement, education about steps you can take, and so on and so forth. So that one would be a $50,000 award, and it would be spent down by December of 2024. So if we got those 2 things, we would really amplify the work we're doing already. And I'll talk about that existing grant right now at the very end of this long, laborious grant conversation. So I really am hoping to get some input from you all about these 2 huge other grants that they're probably bigger than what we've ever done. They could range in the upwards of 500 to 750,000 each, and they're vast. The one that's the most impressive is the Healthy Homes Grant Program, and Stephen Fuller had a great suggestion last night in our public health and safety meeting to kind of go granular into that and see where we could find sections to look at doing seismic improvements. You know, our Whitaker has so many old houses in it, and today researching it has that. So the purpose of that grant is to improve housing conditions and health outcomes for residents of low-income households and preserve affordability and availability of existing housing stock. So what we'd be able to do with that is galvanize a Whitaker base construction company. They have to be legally licensed. And we would begin an intake on people that have structural issues with the home. And there's a wide range of stuff that can be done with it. It's not just for seismic, but I really love that it would align in that way. So let's see here. I think I would show you the list. If I can just run it through real quickly with y'all. Let me see. And where is it? Okay, let me pull it up. So I think my computer is going to be giving you some hassle. Oh, it's a whiteboard. All right. Let me see. I'm going to try again. Here we go. All right. Can y'all see this right here? Okay, let me get down to the section that applies to us. Okay, let's go this way. Sorry, don't get dizzy here. Oh, it's a lot. All right, so here's this list of things that can be done. And my guess is that we would find a lot in the community that need these items. Accessibility modifications, there's all kinds of electrical hazard assessments, energy efficient upgrades. But the real piece that would align with our current projects would be down here in the structural and safety improvements. So we'd be working on fire resistance and seismic resilience. So it's a lot to think about, and it would definitely engage, we'd have to hire someone else to kind of program coordinate it and work with the contractors, work with intake, hopefully someone that has some contracting experience. So I'm just wondering if what folks think about this, because it's a good one to go after. It actually has a grant cycle of 3 years. And as we know in grants, they have this admin and expense indirect fund that you're allowed to pull from, and it's the highest allocation at 20% that I've ever seen on a grant. So if we got, for example, the $500,000 award, we would bank 100,000. And at the end of a grant cycle, whatever you haven't used for those indirect expenses becomes then just left over. So we could allocate that into further programs. Dan, what you thinking? Oh, you're muted.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, this reminds me very much of a program that I discussed with Delenia a couple of years ago. And it was on the cusp of potentially getting a housing grant like this. And so it occurred to me, you know, we had a business at one time, Whitaker Community Council, and it was a parking business. And we actually made a substantial income for a few years from that. And that could fund our organization in perpetuity if we had a viable business. And so my strategy would be to see if we can use this grant, tailor it somehow so that we can create a business around this by basically rescuing derelict homes, homes that may be in code violation, therefore they cannot be rented yet, therefore they can't be, you know, it's basically a white elephant for the owner. There are a lot of businesses, people I know have done very well by flipping houses that they basically bought for a song when they went derelict and they needed a lot of repairs, holes in the roof, whatever. But Jen compiled a list a couple of years ago of all of the houses in the neighborhood that are deserted and that are on the tax abatement rolls. If we simply go through those rolls and look at those houses and decide which ones are viable for us, we might be able to pick up those houses extremely cheaply and then renovate them with this grant, perhaps purchase one or two with this grant, and create a business around that where we bring houses back into the rental arena so that we're creating housing in our neighborhood in homes and buildings that would have otherwise either been torn down or would have sat there for years because of a tax problem or a code problem that we could easily remedy. So I think that's something we can consider.
Thank you. I'll look into that with Jen. Was it Thea that had your hand up next, I believe, and then Gail?
Yeah, question, all the lists that you had there,
Yes,
those are all things that are available?
they're all things that we could do. Yeah, would you like me to put it up again?
Could you put it up again? And
do.
then when applying for the grant, do you have to state what you're going to do?
No, it's
Okay.
it's a generalized kind of umbrella of home repair, and it's interesting because it can be just someone that owns a home that lives in it, that's low income, or it can be someone that rents it. So yeah, it's a pretty vast list.
Okay, and are they requiring them to be over the age of 50?
No.
Oh.
This is the Oregon.
I'm just asking because when you start getting into structural things, that can be $100,000 instantly.
Oh, I thought you meant 50 years old. Okay. The house
Yeah, no,
itself.
I'm asking if the person living in the home has to be over 50 if it's an AARP grant.
No, this is a separate one. This is coming through the Oregon Department of Human Services Office
Oh,
of
okay, different one.
Disability.
Okay, I was mixing them up.
Yep.
So when I look at this, I just keeping in mind, as long as we don't have to pinpoint ourselves into something, because some of these things would be $100,000 easily.
Exactly. Yeah, I completely agree. I know it. I mean, essentially, if we did the larger award structure up to 750,000, you know, that's an interesting conversation with a licensed contractor. Well, you know, look at this list. How many houses could we really do with this budget? So that's It's a
Yeah, and-
complex.
I like Den's idea. I did hear today that Lane County only has 489 homes for sale in the entire county. I was listening to a radio show this morning, and that's the whole county. Now, they're not counting manufactured homes,
Mhm.
but that's pretty scary that our housing inventory is that low in our county.
That is, that's alarming. Gail?
Yeah, I only have just two quick comments. First of all, this sounds like an amazing opportunity. I think we would be foolish not to at least make an attempt at it, even though obviously it's a big expansion. I feel like, first of all, it's going to be more sustainable as far as keeping you on board, Doriandra. And secondly, I know that you're capable of managing even this large project. I feel really confident that this could be an amazing opportunity for our neighborhood. I would like to respond quickly to Den and say, hey, Den, write a proposal up because your idea is great, but it's a little bit too soon to talk about it until we already have kind of the money in place so that we can bankroll that. I think the idea is good, but putting it up against Thea's acknowledgement that there's less than 500 homes available in the entire county, I think that the housing market has changed quite a lot. There aren't really any flippers left, and the ones that are left still go for a lot of money. But that doesn't mean we can't try or we shouldn't look into it because I think we're a much better landlord as a community council than uh, your average person who's in it for just personal enrichment. Not to characterize all landlords that way, but many of them are in that place. The other thing that we might look into is at one point, the apartment building next to Red Barn was up for sale, and I don't ever know what happened with that, but maybe instead of looking at refurbishing derelict homes, we could also expand into looking into refurbishing multi-unit buildings like apartment complexes. Anyway, that's all long way down the road, but I'd like to know what's the next step for us here on this grant.
The next step was to get this moment in time with you all and validate the potential to do it. And then now for me, it's going to be a deep dive into more research, connecting with, finding viable contractors in the Whitaker that will talk with me about it. And then it's just an intensely laborious grant application. So this will just be kind of head down. But yeah, this is what I value because I don't want to start down a road that's so time intensive without the good thoughts here. And I think we're all agree. Does anybody have any real concerns or adverse feelings about me doing this one? Oh, Margaret, do you have a hand up there? Sorry.
Yeah, so I just want to say I think it's a great idea. I like Den's idea as well.
Yeah.
But I do again, I mean, there's been 3 houses that have gone up for sale on my street, and they're fixer-uppers falling apart, and they're selling for $400,000.
Yeah.
And 250. And I know that there are some other places. I have a friend who bought a house, I think, for 150, 200 grand. That was a fixer-upper, and he lived in his RV for a year while he rebuilt the inside of the house. He lived in the parking lot. But it's definitely something to look at and to consider. And I agree with Gail that we would make much better landlords than most. We have a large, senior population in the Whitaker, and I saw up on the top, which for me would also align with what we're doing right now. And it talks about, widening the doors, putting in handrails for people. If
Right.
something happens to someone, if we're in an earthquake and, anything like that, accessibility into homes, ramps, grab bars, all of that would be a huge thing. They also will be less money each time that you do them. So
Right.
we could do more of that. Sometimes less is more. But that could be a huge, huge thing for some people that have been in our neighborhoods for a long-term period.
Yeah.
So they're all great ideas, Durandra. I say, yay, good job.
I'll keep working on it then. Thank you. Den?
Yeah, okay, I'm unmuted. if any of you know the history of Nedco in our community, this is exactly how they got started many, many years ago, 30, 35 years ago, through exactly this kind of being a nonprofit, receiving grants for neighborhood economic development, in this case, housing development. So yes, this is an opportunity for us to step up. So I'm glad you found this, and I wholeheartedly feel we should jump on it.
Great, thank you. I'll do that. Okay. I'll send the letter of intent in this week, and then I believe I have until the end of March to finalize. So I'll dive in with I'll find a contractor and look at this list with them and kind of get some rough ideas of what is just maybe beyond our capacity with that money, and then press on and give you all some updates as we go.
Doriandra,
Yeah,
so there's a couple of people that I think that are new to the neighborhood, running the neighborhood page. There's a guy that's a contractor that posted after the ice storm. You
yes,
know, let me
I
come
got
help
that.
you. What do you need? And I think that I know he lives in the neighborhood,
Yep.
and I think that, you know, that would be a great relationship to build.
Thank you. I have that number saved. I think it's Gilchrist Contracting, and I noted that one. So he's my first go-to. Okay. Oh, one more, Thea?
Yeah, we have Miley in our neighborhood who builds low-income housing. And they do donate a lot to the community. And they could end up being a partnership possibly. I don't know.
What was the name?
Miley.
Okay.
They own the low-income apartments on Van Buren and Clark.
Okay.
They are I think the city contracts with them. They buy a lot of property and build a lot of low-income stuff.
Okay.
I was teasing them about buying the sisters lot that we used to have the parking lot there at Van Buren and Second and putting some low-income housing there.
Mm.
And,
Okay. All right.
they
Excellent.
might be willing to talk to you and not charge,
Right. That would be nice. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, let me hop on to the next one. This is another big ask, and we can see what y'all think about this one. This is like a candy shop grant. It's really weird. It doesn't have, yeah, I know. I feel like a kid in a store. Like it doesn't have a specific number of or pricing that they would give out, but what it has is a huge list. So this is coming, it's the Resiliency Hubs and Networks Grant. And this one has so many allocations. You could, let me open up this and share it with you. This one, you can literally buy, okay, let me back up. This is geared for emergency preparedness. So are you able to see this screen here? Okay, perfect. So these are just the basic things that we could do. And I love this grant because you can see it also pays for grant writing assistance for other grants. Woo! So I could get back to community engagement. But when you go deeper into it, this is just really kind of doubling up on what our existing OHA grant allows and what the AARP grant would allow. So if we dive a little bit deeper, this would entail rent for a proper WCC headquarters, which we would love that. I know Claire had a good lead on the growers market as a potential office space, but we're kind of waiting to see if something comes up there. But this would handle rent. It would enable us to buy a dedicated van to evacuate disabled people out of an area. It's got a lot of things, but this is kind of the most, let's see, I have to stop sharing for a second and show you this other big question. And this is what I'm really kind of wrapping my head around. The grant actually has the capacity to buy us these, what they want to call deployable resilient hubs. And what this would look like is something akin to this. The grant will allow for 3 40-foot Connex boxes. Those are those big semi-trailer things. And then everything to outfit this. So for looking down, this is like a security system, a solar panel, powered security camera. They've got pallets of food in them. They have deployable tents, canopies. You know, it just goes on and on. These are all the things that we could do. Radios, satellite broadbands, big propane tanks. It comes with the ability to pay for a gravel pad, a sanitation tank, so on and so forth. So when we think about it, this would be this system that we could get, but we would need some space within the Whitaker, a small piece of land that could be used to set this up as a resource center for emergency. And what that would mean would be, you know, I've been thinking, well, gosh, the city of Eugene has worked with us thus far. They enabled us to build our permanent free wall on that little patch across from the Skinner safe sleep site. And granted, that's only an 8-foot wall, and we're talking about 40-foot containers, but it's possible, given our reciprocity with them on projects, that we could ask for that. Or, you know, coming to the board again, does anyone have ideas or contacts that we could reach out to say, this is what we're trying to do. We need this piece of land to do it. And these things are movable, so it's not like, you know, if things go awry. See, Den, was it? Den,
Yeah,
Gail?
in the neighborhood, when I think about places that have spare room, like big parking lots or even moderately sized parking lots, there is Next Step right next to the railroad tracks. It's a space that gets little used. There aren't many businesses that want to be directly next to the railroad tracks. If we just need space for storing a container to keep stuff in, we might approach Next Step, because they have a large parking lot that goes almost completely unused there.
Thank you. That's a great idea. Okay. Then Margaret?
So I was just typing in, Thea, you have and this isn't what I want to ask, but Thea, you have a great relationship with Next Step. If it got to that point, what do you think they would say?
Yeah, Next Step would be a possibility. Grizzly Granola is someone else I have a relationship with. Jamie from Ninkasi. Ninkasi has a huge vacant lot across from their better living room.
Okay.
So those are
Right.
all
Okay.
possibilities, and they're all business owners that I've been talking with. Also Cider Works over off of Lincoln.
Across from Event 52. Or
Yeah,
Event
they have a big parking lot.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
could also talk to 4J. I mean, or to the city, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
and
I think
4J has a huge lot that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my question is, Dorandra, as you're talking about these are big grants, and this is great. I mean, you know, you go after enough of them, we're going to get one. But I want to know, what is your capacity to do? I mean, how many grants do you have the capacity to work on and to put in what it takes to make this happen?
It's a great question. Okay, so we've looked at 4 grants. 2 are very small, and I can manage those completely with the 2 that we already have. I can do those 4 easily because they're all kind of under the same bucket of funding. For these other 2 enormous ones, the housing repair and then this resiliency hub one, there's money in these systems to hire a program coordinator.
Right. No, that's not what I mean. I mean to actually apply for the grants, to do the work and the research, and to fill out all the paperwork and go to all the meetings and do all the things that you are doing a great job at and learning as you go to do that. I mean, how many grants can you apply for at once?
Well, yeah, Saoirse and Claire were so right in that executive meeting that they were concerned that this would monopolize so much of my time, and it is. But I just don't really see any steps forward. I feel like this work has to get pushed forward, and I'm doing it. I mean, I'm in progress with all 4 of these that we're talking about. So
you're comfortable with going after all 4 of these grants at the same time?
yes, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, I've done the preliminary work on these 2 big ones and got to a place where I could feel comfortable saying, okay, I need to bring it to my board and see what they think. And then, you know, and these are all pretty intense quick coming up, timelines. These deadlines are April, one at the end of March. So I think, the next month and a half ahead is going to be putting in a ton of overtime to just knock them out. And it's great learning. And, I'd feel empowered by, I was able to train with Ian for his system that he built. It's called, oh gosh, how terrible to forget. I forgot the name. Good Lord.
Change finder.
Thank you, seriously. Yeah, okay. Which is an incredibly valuable asset because all the technical writing that I do gets loaded into there and then it scores it and then helps me kind of rethink it. So I've got the tools at my disposal and then I have beautiful Thea who puts her teacher brain on stuff if I send it to her. So yeah, I want to go for them. I just needed the blessing to do it because I don't want to waste time if we're thinking it's crazy. So.
Fantastic. I mean, they all look great to me. Does anyone have any objections?
Well, I had another comment.
Oh, sorry, Gail. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm being patient over here. I just wanted to observe that there is public land at the end of Second and Jackson, right along the railroad track. So we may be able to get permission from the city of Eugene to put something there, which is pretty centrally located and should be easily accessible to people who are utilizing services around that area without having a major impact on the business area center. I actually was scouting it the other day because I have a dream that someday the city will build another pedestrian crossing from one side to the other over the railroad track. And I was looking to see if a landing would fit there and it would, but that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, in the meantime, we could put a thing there. I think it would fit.
Perfect. Thank you. That's I'll ask that. I'll get into the weeds with the city there, literally. So, okay. Den was next, I think.
Yeah, Doriandra, did I miss the dollar amount of the Resiliency Hubs and Networks grant?
There is no dollar amount. It's so weird. It's like the worksheet that we're looking at now, this would serve 250 people and the total funding would be $122,039. But we have capacity to request more. So
Okay.
this is this candy shop grant it's
I see.
preposterous in its capacity. I mean, we could ask for $26,000 to be supported in this massive project by an AmeriCorps person, a staff person that would come on and work with me to deploy this project. So I keep researching it and I can't really find like an end gap. It's just kind of what we decide we want, we ask for it, and then so.
Is there a way you can find out what the ceiling is? If there is a ceiling, there has to be a ceiling on that.
I cannot find a ceiling. I just know that there's $10 million from the state for organizations. So how that filters out is, I would probably guess it may cap out at the 750,000 mark, maybe.
Okay.
For individuals. I know it's not a lot of organizations will get it. So
It would save you a lot of potential work if you thought you might be able to get 750, but they actually want to cap an individual grantee at 150, then you could waste a lot of steam reaching for that 750.
Thank you. It's a good point. I'll write to the question center tomorrow and get that. That's really salient. Yeah. I keep thinking of it like a candy shop, but I shouldn't. Okay. All right. Any other thoughts on that one? Okay.
No.
All right, perfect. So that's the grant part. I want to now jump over to the WCC Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Statement and just take a look at that if we can as a group. I'd like everyone's thoughts or blessings on that so that we can go ahead and get ready to pass that along to the city of Eugene. And then also it will be on our, oh gosh, where did it go? Just a second. It'll be on our website, which we'll get that fixed hopefully soon. Okay, I gotta back out of here just a second.
Can I, since you're doing that, so Thea asked in the chat, She said she can reach out to Jamie and see if they have any office space. Is everyone comfortable with seeing if Ninkasi has some office space they could share with us? Would there be any objections to that? Fantastic, Thea. If you could do that, that would be much appreciated.
They have so much office space, like floors of office space.
They do. I've been all through the building, so and they have more than one building.
Jamie is out of town for the next week or two, so it'll probably be the first week in March or so.
Thank you. Thea, that's great.
And when they get back, I'll reach out to them.
Perfect. Okay. All right, folks, if we want more time on this, I could certainly just email it to everyone. It was in the update a couple weeks ago. Any major concerns or requests for change, or let me scroll up a tiny bit here.
So I do have a comment regarding this, and we haven't talked about it yet, but Briandra and I went to a meeting with the city and all of the neighborhood associations. And they are going to require, I think what they're going for is they've come out with a new charter. Everybody's been emailed it before. But part of the new charter is that we give basically that we put this in every charter. It's an equal opportunity, it's a diversity that, we're not going to sorry, I'm still a little slow, that we're not going to what's the word? Put up with anybody being disrespected based on their sexual orientation, their gender, their ethnicity, any of that, and that has to become part of every neighborhood association's charter. And I think actually they're going to propose that everyone pick up the same charter. I had a meeting today with Cindy Kohler, and the charter that they're proposing, once it passes city council, then every neighborhood association will adopt that charter. So, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jordan.
That's okay. Yeah, and this will serve as that and also our nonprofit statement. It'll just go in tandem. So any thoughts? Or looks like Gail has approved it. I love your comment, Claire. Absolutely. And we can mull this over a little bit more. I don't want to run out of time with y'all. So, Saoirse?
I was just so the fourth bullet point under we believe that. What about something like inclusion means creating an environment where everyone feels welcome, valued, and they have the agency to participate? I feel like using the terminology empowered adds in this like transactional, or it is like one person is giving power to the other, and without that one person, then the other would have no power. And so agency, I feel like more accurately.
Thank you. I do love that.
Captures
Empowerment to me is kind of like this antiquated word that I'm not fond of. It just feels like it's yesteryear. So thank you.
And people know what people mean by it, I think in this day and age, like they know what you mean, but yeah, I think agency captures it. Otherwise, this looks great. Oh, I actually did have one other thing. Right at the beginning, it says we're committed to creating a just and equitable community. And just, I don't know. I personally like it, but it's a very open and kind of up to interpretation word to be that front and center in our statement, I guess. Like,
how about just
people
equitable?
can interpret that as they want to.
Okay. So creating, yeah, one word stands alone, equitable, right?
I like equitable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Because we're creating the justness by like emphasizing what's below, I think.
Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Okay. Shall we move on? Anybody else on that? Nope. Okay. Oh, I think I saw, Stephen, did you raise a hand?
He said delete bands of.
Delete what?
Bands of.
Oh,
I don't know where it's at.
um, let's see.
Just the Calapooya people, just home to the
Oh.
Calapooya.
Thank you. Home to the Calapooya people. Okay, thank you. Yep, you are the expert on that. Thank you. So, yeah, Thea's putting in the chat, do we need a motion and vote to approve this document?
I motion that we approve the document. Do I have a second?
Could we have some discussion?
Yeah, I
Sure.
thought that's what okay, so let's have some more
No,
discussion.
Okay, I've never seen this document, and I've never seen the new charter that Cindy has proposed that we adopt, and I'd like a chance to read them before taking a vote on at this level on whether we should adopt this statement. I mean, I do have an issue with we are committed to, it talks about trauma-informed services, and I'm not sure what that means, or if that's even in our wheelhouse.
Okay, I feel like that, I put that in because when, for instance, we were doing the COVID clinics, we had a lot of co-location of services that kind of felt compassionate. We were giving out food boxes. We had Eugene Bleeds, you know, I just felt like that's an important way that we
We
should
work with
be.
Whitebird. I mean,
Yeah, we
you guys-
partnered with
we
HIV
partner with a
Alliance.
lot of people.
Yeah, Eugene Mission.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that we offer the trauma services, but we can
Right.
definitely refer them to someone that does. And they could feel safe to ask us where they may find them. And there's a ton in our neighborhood.
But I do see your point. Oh, Gail, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, providing culturally competent and trauma-informed services just means we're going to keep trauma as part of what we consider as we provide services, and that's not a big ask, but more to the point, then there's no option about adopting this sort of document. We must, as a Eugene Neighborhood Association, have a statement of diversity and equity as a part of our charter, whether or not we adopt the and I think we also will be required to adopt the city charters for neighborhood organizations. These are not optional things, so by all means, read all things, but we don't really have a choice in this matter. All we have a choice in is how exactly do we word this document. It is required of us as a neighborhood association.
Yes, I get that, but springing it in a meeting without it having been circulated beforehand is not quite the way to do it.
It's been emailed.
Yeah, sorry, Dan, if you didn't catch it, it was in my updates that I sent the board, I guess about right around the top of this month of February 1st. So
I missed it. Sorry.
yeah, do you want
It
us,
happened.
do you want me to send you a copy right now and we could come back to this, or?
Sure. You know, if the rest of the board wants to move along with this, I can simply I could just abstain if you want to get on with it.
Okay, I'll leave it up to the board how they want
Well,
to.
just to offer just some concrete information here. They are from what I understand, they are going to the city council, and by the month of April, they are looking if everything passes, the NORP. They are changing the NORP, which I don't know what NORP stands for, but I know what it is. I went to the meeting and I've had meetings about it. They are going to a universal NORP for every neighborhood council once the once city council passes it and they agree, then we have to adopt that charter. They've been working on it for 2 years. Come to find out, the whole time we were working on a charter, Jen was actually on the board or on the committee working on the NORP charter, which I was surprised to find out. So we will not have a choice. They want everyone in the city to be on the same charter. However, one nice thing about that is that we will, right now, if you want to change your charter, it takes an act of God in the city. You have to go to the city. You have to go to in front of the council, the mayor. You have to get approval everywhere. This is more of a generic charter, and it's not done yet, which is why no one has seen it. I've only seen a draft. Doriandra saw a draft. We were all invited to the meeting. I sent out a few emails saying, hey, who wants to come? So they showed us a draft there. Like I said, it's not completed. But what it does is it empowers us more to create our own bylaws so that we don't have to go in front of the city or the mayor or the city council and say, hey, we need to change this. We will create our own bylaws at that point, and vote on them as a community, which will make it easier for us to change those things as we grow. We're working on a charter that's 20 years old or more. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to give the community councils a little more power to do what works for them. And some are nonprofits and some are not. So, it makes a difference for us. But as soon as those are available and it's done and they say, this is what you're going to do, they have people that have been on the committee for 2 years. And, they're just doing what they do. I don't even know exactly what it's going to say yet.
Margaret, I'm out of time, so
Do you have anything else that you really needed to talk about?
yes.
We still have 10 minutes, actually, according to what I'm looking at.
Oh, okay. I need my glasses on. Can't see. Okay. Good. The next thing.
Oh, wait, there was a motion put on the floor. So are we going to table that until everyone has a chance to read what Doriandra created, or do you guys want to vote on it now?
I was ready to vote on it now, and I'll second the motion.
Okay, is there any more discussion? Okay, great. All those in favor?
We're seeing signs that the state. even the county
The
level,
WCC there, that's me. I don't know how I signed in as that, but
it's for me, being modified.
so what do we have? Claire, did you vote?
Yeah, she has her hand up.
Okay, oh, it doesn't, okay. So Claire, you let me know when we could take our hands down.
Okay,
Are we
she,
good to go? Okay, yes,
yeah,
okay, we're good,
she's-
Margaret. Okay, so what
Okay.
else is it that you want to talk about? Taylor?
I want to go over the website issue quickly, and it sounds really ridiculous, but I have a list of things that we need to do to fix it. And Den recommended a great site, freelancer.com, that you can send a pile of stuff in, get a quote. They're just basic structural changes that we need for grant compliance. But of those changes, it would be grant information, running programs, a donation page, our equity statement, a history page. I'm not sure if, I think I've said this before, but when Thea and Derek moved the stuff over to our storage that was over at the headquarters, or our old headquarters place, there was just piles of beautiful old WCC newspapers that I've been going through and I'm kind of culling, and I'd like to really create an archival page for WCC that shows some of the amazing work that's been going on. And I think that'll be relevant as we move into our 50th year. And then a project page. We need a page that shows everything we've done, because our achievements that engage the community will actually provide a really solid proof of WCC track record for new grant funding. So we need like a lot of changes on there. And to get a quote, I can do that and then come back to y'all with that and get approval. But it sounds silly. Can we just agree to do new board pictures that are taken by our friends and family, or do we need to hire a photographer again to do uniform pictures? Because it's just an incredible cost. And thank you, Claire. Yeah, I just agree. I mean,
Who's gonna post, who knows how to post the pictures?
but see,
I
what
can take pictures for y'all
there you go.
very easily if
So
you
can you
want.
take some pictures, Saoirse, or just go through some older pictures that we have? And
I don't want to go
you-
through older pictures. I'm not sifting through
no,
things.
I don't mean older. I mean, like, there's pictures on our, like, we all have pictures now from the event that we did. You took pictures at the event under the bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
The resiliency event.
What I'm saying,
We have
Mark,
pictures from there, that kind of thing.
yeah, what I'm saying is that I'm taking photos, and what I'm asking is that the board get some rock and cool selfies going and then gives them to me, which then I am collating to go into this freelance.com group that will load everything where I say to go, and we'll just get it dialed in. We should have a staff picture. We should have.
How much are we talking?
I can't get that until we decide that we can self-actuate with our own photography. So it sounds like that's possible. Do y'all agree? Yes. Okay, great, great. Okay, then I'll push on and I'll get some quotes and then come back to y'all for approval on that. That's like a top priority to me, because the website is just outdated and sad at this point. So everyone in it's wearing masks. So, okay, thank you. Then the last piece I have for you all tonight is
Oh,
just,
you're out of time.
okay.
No, I'm kidding. Go.
Oh, two quick things. Our Public Health and Safety Committee meeting last night was fabulous. Thanks to Thea, she pulled up the ReadyGov or ready.gov preparedness calendar. And so we were kind of able to look ahead for the planning out of 4 more of our disaster resiliency events. And we will time them in accordance with what the US is on. So in May, we'll do a national wildfire themed awareness event. September, we'll do the National Preparedness Month, February, winter awareness, and then April, I want to do the pet resiliency, but we could also toggle to severe weather safety. So pets are ruling. And we all agreed that we'll stick with the continuity of having it at the Washington Jefferson Park. It was super cool to be under that bridge, and it's so nice to be back in the park doing good stuff. So that was some of the decisions we made, and we're set to start moving on that. Okay, then the last thing, yeah, I wanted to talk about development and fundraising, but frankly, I don't have the bandwidth if I'm chasing down grants. So let's pause on that and we'll get back to that. It's basically just a concept of how we generate donations from a broader network of private donors, businesses, and yeah, let's put that off until spring. So I'm done.
Okay, I do have one thing that I want to comment before you're done, and I want to
Sure.
make sure that the board understands, because you didn't talk about this, and I thought that you would. So how many grants have you worked on since you've been with us now, Deandra?
3. We have 2
Okay.
pending and 1 denied.
And then we had no, I mean, since COVID, since the very start.
Oh, well, now it's like up to 7.
7, 8, something like that. So here's what I'm going to tell you that I know. So I know that Deandra was in a meeting with OHA. I see them come up there. She's in 3 meetings a week sometimes with them. And she was in a meeting with OHA. And in the meeting, they said that the grant that we're waiting on, that we would get in one lump sum. Every other grant that we've gotten since we very first started we've either gotten one lump sum or we got like in 4 very large payments. They have never, ever, this is the first time that they ever spread a grant out to where they gave it to us on a monthly basis. So the fact that they're doing that with the money that they gave us to specifically to hire a staff and pay them is a little confusing to me, and we did try to overcome that. But we're unable to do that. So I just want to give kudos to Doriandra for saying, you know what, we're going to get another grant. I'm going to step back to have time for the moment. And when we do that, then we'll just go back into what we were already doing.
Right.
And so I want to tell you, thank you you're doing a fantastic job. I know everybody thinks so. We all see all of the stuff. No, and just so you know, and I sent out an email, we did not have the money to pay. Everyone was paid through the end of December. We were supposed to have money deposited by OHA and the CDC in January. They are behind. Now they're telling us the beginning of February, which is 2 weeks. So we're talking about
March.
what, or in March, how we're going to make payroll for February, because in all reality, Doriandra did work, she worked 40 hours a week, actually more than that. She worked full time and should get her full pay for the month of February, even though it's not over yet. And I did take $5,000 out of general funding and transferred it into the grant funding, which we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. I CC'd the board and the general board or the executive board, and then Den and I talked about it, and we agreed, him being the treasurer, that she had to get, we had to meet our payroll. So we did that, and then that money we will get paid back once that money is deposited. But right now, I can't answer that question, Thea. I don't know exactly how much is in the general fund. I've had my own personal stuff going on, a lot of it, and we need to talk about some bills that are due right now, but I'll have a better idea tomorrow how much money is left in the general fund and in our savings. We actually separated it. No, I don't think Den knows either. Den, do you know exactly how much money is in our bank?
It is north of 20,000. It may be 24. I think Doriandra probably has a better memory than I do and probably saw those statements recently. I did send the statements to our bookkeeper just last week, and my recollection is that we had a minimum of about 25. Doriandra, do you know better?
Yeah, that sounds right, Dan. I think we had, we've run our the grant account now is down to only like $300, and I have to pay our storage with that. That's 145. So we have our March storage paid, but so yeah, we're just kind of waiting breathlessly without any money in that fund for these big allocations to come in, the 18,750. And then it looks like the CDC fund, that's the one that we were so disappointed that it wasn't a front loading. That there's no way we would have known that, because as Margaret said, everything is front loaded for us. So I don't think OHA even knew that until CDC got under the braiding of our original budget. So
that'll be like 13,000 because they're going to pay us
Right.
3 months.
right,
So and
'cause we're
so
behind.
I
So-
will bring a motion to the board, although I don't know how we're going to get we're already owed $5,000 in grant money.
Well,
We could we need to make payroll. There's things we haven't talked about yet. I don't know if y'all have read your emails, but we set up a payroll company so that we are no longer in any danger of anyone overpaying themselves, taking money that doesn't belong to them, blah, 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 blah. When Drew left, they actually did us a favor because we have cut our our expenses in that area probably by half.
Yeah. So-
So since what, Doriandra?
Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to say that on my end, I have to keep track of all this structure. But then what Vicky Lynn and Margaret do, and then the board chooses is a separate thing. But my recommendation is that when we get the $12,000 from the CDC, I would like to do pay our general funds back the 5,000 immediately. And then I can still get my full salary for working for the month of February. And then in March, I just go to halftime. And I
Right.
just keep my head
I
down.
get all of that, but what
Okay.
if we don't get that money until March 8th?
Well, I call paychecks and I say, we need to pause on payroll. I mean,
And Kelsey is okay with that?
everyone will understand. We're
Okay,
a
great. Never mind that.
grant-funded
Then we'll just leave,
organization.
leave it at that.
Yeah,
Okay, so now that you all are informed about what's happening, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so
thank
we're
you,
good.
Margaret. Yeah, I didn't get granular, but thank you. That's completely it.
It's okay. People are asking in the chat if we have enough to float you. And so I'm addressing the questions, but you're saying we don't need to do that. And I do know the money's coming because I actually emailed OHA the other day with Doriandra and I said, hey, when are we going to have this money and how much are we getting exactly? Because you guys owe us back from January. And they did respond and we're going to get paid on 2 grants in the beginning of March. So it'll work out.
Yeah, and forgive me for interrupting again, but I've already changed the budget because of this crisis so that there's no interruption with Kelsey or Vicky Lynn because I've moved their salaries over into our OHA funding, which we're getting the full amount up front. That's 18,750. So
do we need to vote on that?
no, because they're granular budgets that I'm getting approved from our funders that you all have generally voted on before. So it's,
Okay.
yeah, your choice, but
no, under circumstances, I just want to make sure that we follow all, that we dot our T's and cross our I's.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Thea, sorry to get into your time. Do you have a quick report?
Well, I was just typing in here. I have a concern for Doriandra. We hired her as a full-time employee. We're now asking, we gave her a non-compete, so she can't go out and work for anybody else. We're now asking her to work full-time, pay her half-time. And so
we didn't ask her to do anything. It was her idea.
Margaret, can I finish, please?
Yep.
I'm concerned for her in that she's still going to have to work full-time, volunteering half-time. We're paying her half-time. We're not allowed to go work elsewhere. So what I'm asking is, does the WCC general fund have enough money to float her? Can we do that until the OHA money comes in? Because we haven't really had a treasury report in a long time. And that's not any fault of our treasurer right now. We just have not done. So Doriandra was keeping us up on grant money. So we knew that, but we didn't know general fund stuff. We've known what the grants were.
We do not have enough money to float her on. And the problem is not the 18,000. The problem is that they were going we thought that we were going to get $75,000. And the original proposal was that we would pay Doriandra from that $75,000. We would pay her the 80 grand a year, $200 towards her insurance. And that was the original proposal, and that we were throwing a dart against the wall and knowing that we would have another grant at some point, if that it would pick it up 8 months in. And that's not happening now. They're only giving us $4,000 a month. That's where the problem lies. We're still getting the same amount of money. They're just not giving it to us all at once.
So it's being spread out over how
monthly.
I know, but for how
over
many
18 months? 18
Jesus
months.
Can I go ahead?
No, please.
one thing we could do, is the $18,750 is for the emergency resilience program that we're doing. And that allows for salaries. So whenever I have a problem with, say, we can't get a certain contractor, we can't get this program made, I just write to OHA and then I submit a small change in the budget. And I'm very compliant with that because you just have to be, it's really critical. So we have every right under grant structure to write to them and say, okay, we're going to be pulling the rest of Doriandra's salary out of that. That is an option. Then I stay on my contract and get the mortgage paid and everything's great.
For 2 months.
But yeah, we could do that for a couple months, but it just, to me, it's pulling valuable money away from the community that we need to be buying go bag supplies. And so maybe I'm being naive in that because I need to get paid too, but I just keep feeling positive that we're going to get more grants really soon. And once those new grants come in, then we just restructure salary with OHA, CDC, board approval, and say, okay, now we're pulling salary for Doriandra back over here. And
So here's my dilemma, because I do
Okay.
think in some ways you're being naive, but also we have a contract with you. We become breach of contract if you are not paid in full. So we either have to rewrite your contract or we have to figure out how to get you paid in full. Otherwise, we will be in trouble as a nonprofit and not honoring your contract.
exactly. And that's tomorrow why I'm meeting with our liaison with our Oregon Center nonprofit. The OHA pays for her guidance to us. And so, yeah, I apologize at the top of the meeting. I was really perfunctory in explaining this. And that's what I'm going to her with tomorrow to ask what these questions are, because she'll give me a legal answer for what it means for both myself and the organization and the grant structure. So I think it's kind of a to be determined issue. But it's a big blow, obviously. So
So
Yes.
once again, I go back to my original question. Do we have enough to float you for 2
No.
months until another grant comes through?
No,
What are you getting paid a month, Doriandra?
let's see, after taxes, it's the total, it's
because what
$7,000.
matters is before taxes. What
Yeah, I'm sorry.
comes
Yes.
out of our account.
It's
What comes out
seven,
of our account is almost $8,000 a month.
that's with payroll, that's paying Kelsey, that's paying
Correct.
the workman's comp. So yeah, my individual salary is 7,000 a month. So
I would just like to say that I think that it's important that you continue to be paid in full per the terms of your contract. Even and especially while you're working on these grants, because also the reality about grants is you could pour hours and hours and hours into these and we could get nothing back.
exactly.
And that would have nothing to do with the quality of your grant. I feel like it's important that you continue to be paid. And I know that you said that we could shift away from fundraising, but I feel like this is also where where board members kind of can come into play. Like if we need to try and extend asks over our networks or I I think that one, we should use that like $18,000 grant that you said, or maybe I'm remembering that wrong, but the one that you said that was flexible that you can just submit budget changes to. I feel like we should use that. And yeah, I don't know, because you will be more valuable down the road, like fully sustained and able to, it it is more valuable to have you in the long term than to buy a couple extra go bags for people. There's funding in other places to do that, and other organizations can do things like that.
So Dan, I see your hand up there, but Doriandra, if we do that, are we still grant compliant?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
and just so everyone knows, because of what was stated, the contract that Doriandra signed, is she can walk away from that contract anytime, and so can we. we can change that contract. There was no time limit on there. It is not a binding, geez, we're doing this for a year. It is a month to month. And yes, we do owe her, we will owe her for the month of February. What is being proposed was what Doriandra proposed, but that's part of why I brought it up right now, so that we can all talk about it and see what everybody thinks. And I mean, I'm well aware, you know, I proposed hiring her and doing the W-2, and we have done an enormous amount of work to set us up as an employer.
That was hard.
So, Dan, what do you have to say?
I'm curious to know from Doriandra if you have any timelines for the various grants, the CHIPS grant, the ARPA grant, the Healthy Homes, or the Resiliency Hubs. Do any of these grants have specific due dates and then specific timelines for payout dates? What are they?
They sure do. Yeah, the AARP is due March 6th. That will get notification in May and then funded in June. The CHIP grant that I've already submitted and we're waiting on, notification on awards will come March 1st. That's the troublesome grant. That's a reimbursement that really does us no good for right now, except we could, you know, I could give us invoice, I could give WCC invoices for months, but that's just confusing accounting and I'd rather not do that. The other two big ones have application deadlines of April 6th, I believe it is, and then I have to look carefully at the other one. So then those fundings all would start within this year. So it's staggered out, and I can give you those exact dates.
Would any start in the next 3 months, Doriandra? If we were awarded, would we get anything by May?
Correct, the AARP, that would be 50,000.
That would be awarded in May. Okay, and what are the chances of OHA, which they have done several times, saying, oh, geez, look, we found some money, here you go.
It's fabulous, and I've been pressuring them to send us funding so we could revitalize our housing as healthcare program for rental assistance. So there's a really good chance it will come like it does. We're a strong grantee for them. So, I mean, frankly, I'm getting excited thinking that, yeah, this could, what Saoirse said could solve it, or I could just resubmit budgets to OHA so that 3,000 of my pay is coming out of the disaster resiliency and then 4,000 comes out of CDC infrastructure. And we could do that for 3 months or 2 months and put a cap on it and say, okay, we could reevaluate in 3 months and say, okay, where are we with grant funding? And then at that time, if we had to go back to the lawyer and change my contract to halftime, yeah, this was just devastating, but I just kind of wrapped my head around it that it would be a pretty lean time. But Saoirse's idea really
Right, Thea, do you have one more, do you have anything else to say?
I'd just like to make a motion that we figure out how to get her move forward as a full-time. Otherwise, we are going to have to rewrite your contract.
Yeah, we'd have to go back to the lawyer, spend more money. Yeah, it's a big hassle.
Well,
That's
no, we would just change your contract from, I talked to the lawyer yesterday for a long time.
oh good.
And we would just change your pay to half of what it is and just change it from 40 hours to 20.
Right.
And the same contract, and we could take out the non-compete if that's what you wanted to do.
The truth is,
but what you just said, so I make a motion that we.
I just made a motion, Margaret, so we either cancel it.
No, but the motion needs to be clear. And here's what I make a motion for. I make a motion that we go ahead and follow with what Doriandra proposed, that we pay her full time for the month of March and April. And we take that money out of the 2 different grants. And we just pursue, and then we revisit this in April and see where we're at with funding and grant money. Is there any more conversation about this? Does that answer your question, Thea?
I think
Thea?
he's had some
I
problems.
said yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more discussion about this?
Claire needs to know
Claire
the
has a
different-
question for the
What are the
notes.
two different grants called, so we have it correct?
One is the CDC infrastructure. And one is, the technical name is the OHA tobacco prevention. And I know that sounds crazy, but
Okay, great. So do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, everyone in favor? I think that one is unanimous.
oh. Thank you all.
Thank you. It's just like I said, Briandra, I wanted to come back and talk about that and be clear with everyone so they understood exactly what was happening.
Thank you.
Because you are, you are a very valuable tool for us and you're gonna help take us where we want to go. And
Okay.
not everyone gets the I know that Thea does, but not everyone gets the privilege to chat with you several times a week and to plan and to get inspired and to be excited about what's happening with the WCC. So
Thank you.
we'll do this for 2 months.
Okay,
We'll do March and April.
perfect.
And then at the April meeting, we will talk about what May is going to look like.
That's great. Thank you so much. That gives me some wiggle room and really helps while I kind of move through this hard grant process. And plus I can buy puppy classes for the dog now, so.
Yeah. Okay, so Thea, I hope it's okay. Do you have anything really important? Because I have a couple of really important things to talk about.
I just have one question for the board in that I have been contacted by numerous businesses. They're struggling with the trash and the drugs right now. I am meeting with Chief Skinner on Friday. We're going to do a drive around. We've lost a couple more businesses in the last month. And there is a huge push to have a business alliance or a business committee from the Whitaker because they cannot speak out when there are issues. Businesses don't feel safe at speaking out. So they've been contacting me. I've been reaching out to the city. I noticed we had cleanup today. Is the board comfortable with having a business committee?
Absolutely.
Maybe
That's not a
Derek could
question.
be the
Wait,
one to
will
take
will
it.
that violate our charter because we're not allowed to support or give priority or give extra anything to any particular business? It's in our nonprofit charter, so I'm not
That's not in
sure.
our charter. That's not in our charter.
As a nonprofit organization, we are prevented from allowing any advertising or any special behavior or anything that could possibly be construed as support for any particular business over any other business. So in order for us to do anything with any business, we would have to have absolute equity, and that seems like a lot of pressure and a lot of management that we don't really have the infrastructure for. I would like to be sure that this isn't something that would violate our charter.
I don't think it will. And I think that we've been trying to get a business alliance together in our community for a long, long time. And it would simply be a committee composed of any of the business owners that wish to sit around and discuss their business issues, and then come up with a unified plan to approach the city to see if the city is interested in solving their articulated issues that they're having. So there are no preferential issues going on there at all, Gail.
So I have a comment about this as well. So, we do lots of stuff for our unhoused community. And understandably so. I mean, there's people that park in front of my house that have nowhere, that go to work every day because they can't afford to go. We have Burrito Brigade who goes in the park and feeds our unhoused community. There's no reason. I think it's unfair to not offer those same things to our businesses that are local and give them an equal voice. and what everyone else has. I mean, they're as much a part of our community as anyone. And to just give them a to give them a place where they can meet and talk about things and, you know, have some support from one another. I don't see why, as the WCC, I mean, our responsibility is to support our entire community, including our businesses.
Gail, I'm appreciating and reading your comments in there, and that is one of the things that the businesses are talking about, is setting up their own alliance. And that's why I asked if the WCC was interested, because we don't really have the bandwidth right now with what we're doing already. But I know the businesses are, they're struggling. I'm still in talks with Santa Pac about, and the city, trying to get cans in our neighborhood to deal with the trash, because that's one of the biggest issues, is the trash right now. I noticed that LTD has pulled a lot of their trash cans from the bus stops, and the ones that they pulled the trash cans from, there's trash everywhere, all around. I have no problem saying to the businesses, because there are several people that would like to organize their own and say, hey, organize your own. I was just wondering how people felt.
What do you think, Derek?
I would have no problem chiming in and sitting around and talking about what we can do to help each other out. And I'm not looking for any help to my business or be any kind of a hindrance for, you know, like what Gail was saying, you know, would it break any rules for us to do stuff like this? I don't see how that would happen for me at all.
What do you think, Claire?
I'm in a bit of a loud background right now, so I apologize if there's a lot of background noise happening, but I guess I'm just having a bit of an issue getting behind putting businesses on the same equal voice platform as people who are experiencing houselessness. I don't know if I agree with the statement that we can give an equal voice to businesses when there is no equality between people who own businesses and people who don't have a place to live.
Okay, I understand that. And what about you, Saoirse? What do you think?
I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth. I agree with Claire that I don't think it is, like, I don't think it equates at all in terms of us needing to provide that service. I don't necessarily know if it would. I really appreciate, Gail, your understanding of the charter. I'm not necessarily sure it would fully break our charter, but I do think that it would just be icky. I think that it would open the door for there to be like a smaller group of business people like meeting with each other, and it just like could look and feel icky and open up the space for conflict that we just might not want, and they might be better served creating a space on their own.
So I have a question, and I really have some stuff that I have to talk about, but do you not think it's icky that we are telling them, no, we don't have the time or space for you? And there are businesses, they employ our people, they keep our neighborhood vibrant. And I know many businesses, like I know Old Nick's, you know, they during the ice storm, they opened up their deck and put out heaters, and the place that was downtown, whatever that gaming place, was not the only one that let people come and sleep. You know, we have lots of different businesses that experience lots of things.
Yes,
Isn't it
I am.
icky that we tell them, no, we don't have time for you? We don't represent that part of the neighborhood.
That's not what we're saying, though. We're not
But
saying that
that's
we
what
don't
our
have.
actions would show, to me.
A little bit how I would feel if I couldn't be part of a group like that, but yet we're putting our efforts into the houseless in helping them out. I just want to be able to, without a target on my back, be able to sit with other business owners and discuss things.
Yeah, and people are afraid. I know, I've talked to them. They're afraid of retribution.
Margaret, I put in the chat, I appreciate everybody's comments. I will just let the people know that they can do their own business thing, that our energy is focused elsewhere, and I can say it very politely. Okay. This was just something that I was bringing to the board because I felt it was important. And let's move on because we have a lot to discuss.
Just one more comment on this. When we go to our local businesses and ask them for money to pay Doriandra's salary, because we lost $35,000 of no fault of our own, but we tell them that there's no place for them on our with the WCC. I mean, you know, we're talking about doing fundraising. Like I just saw what happened with the weekly, you know, things like that. But to me, that's how I would perceive it. I've been a business owner, but I'm basically, you know, I'm employed on my own.
Margaret,
And-
I just asked the question. I don't think
No, but I
it's not
have,
that
I
far.
can say what, I can also express my opinion, Thea. Thank you. Dan, you say what you have to say, and then we're gonna move on.
Okay, I'd just like to remind the board that all of you just voted on an equity and inclusion statement. And consider that in the light of the last 10 minutes of discussion. I also want to ask a procedural question. How many board members do we currently have? And then obviously what is a quorum? What constitutes a quorum currently?
We have a quorum right now.
I know we do, but how many board members do we have in total at this point?
Doriandra, do you know? I don't have the answer to that question at the moment. I've had my own. Claire says 7, she thinks.
Yeah, we're just missing Marcus. That's it.
Correct.
So
Okay, so then there are
7
8 of us. There are 8 of us.
technically
But,
8.
you know, Marcus has missed so many consecutive meetings that his eligibility has lapsed for purposes of quorum. So I think we should consider ourselves 7 at the moment. So a quorum, it'd still be the same number of people for a quorum, which is 4. So just for future reference, 4 is the current quorum for the WCC.
Okay. All right. So I had some stuff that I needed to talk about. We're running out of time. Basically, so this is just going to be informative. Okay, and I want everyone to understand where we're standing and what has happened with the DOJ. We voted, however
We
many
have
months-
guests who are present who are not on
That's
the
okay.
board.
That's
All right.
it's okay. This is a public meeting, and this is just going to be some general statements. Let's try to keep it that way. Okay. And that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about. Well, number one, I need to make a motion that we owe the Center for Nonprofit. Every year we pay them X amount of dollars to retain them, and we had some back bill. I have a bill for $700. I need to make a motion that we pay them the $700 that we owe them. Do I have a second? There's a second. Everybody in favor? Where'd you go? So you let me know, Gail, or I'm sorry, Gail. You let me know, Claire.
Looks good.
Okay, great. So I will take care of that. So the DOJ. So here's what we have, and I've talked to several people, and I've talked to some board members, and I just want to clarify that what this is this is very simple. It is a report. That's it. There's no need for, and like I said, I'm just going to tell you what's going to go on. Okay. This is just informative. This is just a report. I emailed you all a paper that we got back from them. And what that paper is they're just asking for our records. That's it. I am actually gonna work with Gail a little bit because they want all of our minutes. And they want our bank statements. And they have many other things. But this is not pointing fingers. This is not blaming. This is not doing anything. All they want to see is the facts. And so I need to make a motion as well. So I had a conversation yesterday with Sarah, who is a partner at the law firm, who said that she will represent us through this and she will be our only contact. She will create a Dropbox for us. And what we will do is we will just take the facts. That's it. We will drop the facts in the Dropbox. She's going to go through what there is and she will talk to the DOJ. She said that she thinks that that's all it will be. That we will just give them that and then they will make their determinations based on what it is. And what she did tell me is that the only thing, and she said it will help us actually, is that, and we've already made some huge improvements. For instance, we have a huge bit of minutes that are missing before I became the chair. I don't know where those are. We can claim we don't know. It was a different board. They may tell us how to clean up some things to make sure that our nonprofit is on track to being compliant, you know, with being a nonprofit, to make sure that we clarify all of our guidelines. And she said that really is probably what will come out of this for us. It's done. We voted to file the complaint, and she told me, I talked to Cindy Kohler, I got an email from Cindy Kohler. Everyone says, bravo, you guys did the right thing. In the long run, if we get, you know, if the IRS looks at us, if OHA looks at us, the CDC, FEMA, if any grant stuff comes back, any of that, and they want to know about money and where it is, then we have followed all the steps and no one is going to come back and ask us, why didn't you do something about that? So at this point, we're just going to go into the Dropbox. She said it'll cost us probably $1,000 to pay her. And then she will be our liaison between us and the DOJ, which for me, and at this point, I'm the responsible party because I'm the chair. I really need your guys' support in telling me that you're good with that. But notes, meaning minutes, and bank statements for the most part, and some emails that she already has. She has a statement from Drew, where he went through our QuickBooks and all of that. That's it. There is no witch hunt here. There's nothing like that. We're going to keep our conversation with her if you guys agree to spend the $1,000. We give her the stuff and then she deals with them, and that's it. Is there any, does that make sense? I'm sorry, I really haven't been feeling well, so you all will have to pardon me. I've been going through some physical stuff, and I actually have to go back up to Portland tomorrow. But I'm really trying to keep so my motion is that we authorize $1,000 to pay our lawyer to represent us with the DOJ on the complaint that we filed last year. And Gail seconded the motion. Are there any questions? Fantastic. Everybody in favor? Okay, so, and just so that you know, I will work with Den to get he's our treasurer. So the money stuff is going to come from him. And he will have access to the Dropbox as well, so he can give them what they want. And then I will work with Claire to make sure that we have as many minutes as we can. And then if anything, they'll come back and tell us how to, they'll clarify some guidelines for us as far as being a nonprofit. Everyone that I've talked to said this is a great thing. It's a good opportunity, and we can get some schooling on how to be a better nonprofit than we are today. So it is simply a report. That's it. All right, fantastic. So that motion carried, is that right, Claire? Did you get
Well,
that?
I saw, yeah, I saw that Thea left. Does that quorum affect anything?
We
Can
still have a
someone-
quorum.
No, I think we're good. Okay, thank you.
And it's still, you know, as we put in the email, it's still a, you know, it's a confidential situation. I verified that again with the lawyer, and she said, yes, just keep it confidential. We're just gonna work our way through this. And my guess is that we're not the first ones, which is why I got picked up. So just know that we really did do the right thing. Okay, so just a couple of things. Where is it? We voted on this. So our insurance is due. It was under the $500 limit. It raised to $347. I paid it today. We have a new agent, but we're good to go for another year. And I confirmed actually that insurance is good at any location throughout the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Just so everybody knows. So what we did to, number one, we actually, when Drew resigned, and we've done a lot of things because we haven't had a meeting, and I have emailed the executive committee. I've emailed the board with a lot of things, but some things had to be done. So we were paying Drew $679 a month. I don't know exactly what we're paying now. However, we signed up with a payroll company. The payroll company is going to do our W-2s and our 1099s both. They also set up auto deposit. So any contractor that we hire over the next year, anytime we add a contractor or another W-2 employee one day, they only charge us $2 more. I believe we're paying $50 a month for that. That's it. And right now they have, we hired a new accountant, just so that you all know, she lives in Redmond. We did some research, we looked locally, and we talked to our bank. Our bank set us up with the payroll company, and our payroll company set us up with the accountant. So we have decided we are going to go paperless, which I knew you all would be supportive of. We are going to go paperless. So Doriandra actually has a card that she will only use for things that have been approved by the budget, or in her budget that have been approved by the board. And so we separated the bank accounts as well. Dan has been telling us and telling us and telling us we need to get those bank accounts right, and we still need to do one more. But we have an account that's just for the grants. They have been taking the money the whole time and filtering the grant through the general funds account, which is, you know, there's no way for us to see what is general funds and what is grant money. So we took the general funds account because that's where all the grant money has funneled through, and we made that the grant account. We figured out exactly how much was left in the grant money. We left it in there. We put in $1,000 into general funds, and everything else went into savings. We're going to open up a grant admin account. With every grant that we get a percentage of money. And that money is to take care of what Doriander talked about at the beginning, where we take care of things that are not grant compliant, but that are necessary, extra expenditures. So, but when the grant is over and when we fill out the paperwork, that grant's done, then whatever money is left over from that grant goes back into the general funds. So one nice thing that we were able to do with the bookkeeper that we hired is that for QuickBooks, we signed up QuickBooks through her. What are we paying her, Doriandra? $100 a month?
She is contracted at $45 an hour for up to 4 hours a month. And then we've folded our QuickBooks into her pricing so that we've downgraded it one. We were paying for a much higher thing we needed. So our total fee, highest fee we can spend on bookkeeping now is $464 a month. But most likely it will be a lower fee. And the QuickBook portion of that is $64.
Right, and she's already went in and reconciled our QuickBooks.
Yep.
And the nice thing, she understands and it's already done. I know some of you are familiar with QuickBooks, some are not, but in QuickBooks, you go in and you open up an account. Okay, here's the CDC grant. I sent her a receipt today actually for the insurance, and that came out of general funds. Which it should have come out if we had the grant, the admin grant account, we would have taken it out of there probably. But we have to have insurance in order to do things in the park and whatever. But she already took the receipt. That has its own file. She attached that receipt in there. So she's on board and knows exactly what we're doing. She has access to all of our accounts. She has different files in QuickBooks for every single grant that we're doing. She can move the money around, but there's no longer ACH available. There's nothing. Nobody can take any money. So that's good. She's reconciled our accounts. They're good to go. And we did have to get workman's comp, which is tied into our payroll, and the workman's comp, I believe, is how much a month?
$47.50.
$47.50, which we have to have because Doriandra is now a W-2 employee. But like I said, the payroll company, they're going to send her a W-2 and they're going to send everybody 1099s as well. We don't have to worry about any of that. It's all taken care of, and that costs us under $100 a month.
50.
Oh, it costs us $50 a month. Okay.
Yep.
Well, no, I meant with the workman's comp.
Yeah, 100 a month. Yep.
But the city's coming out with a unified charter. We already talked about that. So we are switching. The city is changing everyone. I emailed you all a link to go and do a tutorial for Google. It's not Google Pro, it's Google Suite, I believe.
Workspace.
I'm sorry?
Google Workspace.
Okay, Google Workspace. Zoom will no longer work next month. I believe that we're gonna have to figure out how to. Are we gonna be able to log into that at the mission? Do you know, Claire?
I don't know, but I recommend we save the in the weeds topics for off meeting deliberation.
Well, this is in the weeds because we have less than a month.
No, I know. I that's why I'm recommending we save it for off of the meeting topics.
Well, I recommend that everyone go into the link that I sent you, and there are videos and it shows you how to use it, and there's a tutorial. And later on, someone with the city will come and meet with us and walk us through it. But we have to use Google Meets in our meetings starting next month. But I also, and I don't think I have to put this up for a vote. But for those of you that don't know, last year, Claire and I and Jason from the Whitaker page started the last Friday art walk again, which at one point we had like 25 locations. And by the end of the summer, it was me. And it was a lot of work. So Gail, that's why I tried to call you the other day. Was to tell you that I think I want to revive the art team, even if it means getting new people. How do you, I know that you've talked to them because they've reached out to me about the phone booth.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. My mom is recovering from being hit in a crosswalk by a truck, so my availability is limited until she's out of the hospital.
Right. And I get that. And I know that that's why I haven't called you, but I figured I would ask you tonight what your opinion was because you're the only one that's talked with them. So I don't think we need to vote on that. I'm going to reach out to do that. Do you know where the continuity binders are?
I gave you the continuity binders last April when you took office. I still
All
have
right.
copies of them.
If you could re-email them to me at your convenience, that would be great. I already had someone that emailed me that is interested in running for the board, and I would just like to be able to tell them what each seat means.
That's the part that hadn't been completed yet, but I'll resend you everything that had been completed while it was still my project.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So
Ideas for general meeting / 50th anniversary / election
train
election prep.
song. Train song. So train song, now that they are once the city gets the new NORP approved, I had a meeting, like I said, with Cindy Kohler, and we also talked to this guy, Steven. He's been to a couple of our meetings. Train song really wants to incorporate into the WCC. I do believe in order for that to happen, we need to have a vote of the community and a vote of the train song community as well. You can see on here, Doriandra put up a map where the stars are. That's train song. It's less than 500 homes. They actually now if the new charter passes, then you have to have 500 homes to be a neighborhood association. There is some industrial in there, some businesses, but there's also many residences. Is anyone opposed to that?
I have some issues. I have some issues with it. I think it's kind of late in the evening to be having a big discussion about this, though.
Well, we
I
haven't had a meeting in 2 months,
see,
and I'm just
this.
putting it out there to just give an idea. That's it. I have some notes. I need to say, hey, we're not ready because the city isn't ready because they haven't adopted the new NORP yet. But these guys are coming and saying, hey, one thing that I think that we can do, and it will just something to consider, and I did talk to the city about this, is that we could, like, for instance, we could do for them, like, we could offer them somehow a committee. I don't know. I need to think about it and do a little bit more research. But Steve will be at our meeting on the 28th. And they really want representation, and they really want to be with the WCC. They are super excited about it. And they are super excited that it's getting to the point that they can. So 50th anniversary, we'll talk about that. The election is coming up in 2 months. I have talked to some of you individually. We don't need to talk about who's going to run or who's not or whatever. But what I would ask is, if you're not going to run, if you could let me know, I would appreciate that. According to the city charter, we have to have 6 members. If we do not have 6 members, we lose the Whitaker Community Council and we lose our nonprofit. Just so everyone is aware of that. Yes, we do. At that, the city, we will not be a neighborhood that is recognized through the city. We will not be a neighborhood council if we do not have 6 elected members. I can't hear you, Jen, but I'm telling you that's.
But that won't impact our nonprofit status. That's independent of the city
Well, okay,
and their jurisdiction.
okay, fair enough.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So Train Song, it was a neighborhood association at one time, and they've gone inactive. But if they don't have a neighborhood association, I'm just wondering how they're going to vote on whether to join Whitaker neighborhood. But that's just
Well, we'll work that out with the city because the city is talking to them.
Gotcha. Okay.
The city
they can
actually
mail
is
everyone a postcard. The city could mail everyone a postcard and Train Song.
correct, and we there are ways that we can do it, but the city will help make that happen. When that comes, but it will give us more people and it will give us more, it'll just give us more. It'll give us a bigger pond to get board members from. And they're right on the tracks, just like we are. I mean, they have a lot of the same problems that we do. They identify with the Whitaker. I think they feel like they're an extension of us. All right. Is there anything that anyone wants to talk about? We'll talk next month about the election. And the rest of the stuff, like I said, there was a lot of stuff that we needed to cover. We have 4 minutes left. Anyone have anything they want to say?
This is super quick. While I just went through and made some quick edits to the website, so we have all of those like pictures with masks out. Doriandra, I finally did that disaster resilience update that you asked. So that page looks good. And because I have access to them, most of the pictures I used, I took myself. So we have full rights to them.
Woohoo!
Wow, thank you, Saoirse. How exciting.
Thank you. And I also found the password, which is saved in my computer, to the old website, to the Squarespace one. So I know there's a way that we can take the traffic and direct it. People, if they link on that, it will go to our current website. Although I don't know how to do it, but I know there is a way to do it.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, we will. But that's a good thing. It took me forever to figure out how to get in there. Den, did you have one more thing to say? You're good. So, like I said, I'll be out of town for the rest of the week. I have to go to Portland. But then I will reach out to you next week, okay? And Claire, you as well, and we will figure this out. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do. Really.
Thank you for all you do, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret. You're the hardest working person here, so thank you.
I'd say Doriandra probably is, but I just work for free.
You guys all did a good job.
Volunteer.
Good to see everyone.
Yes, you too. Thank you everyone for coming, and we will talk to you all later.
Bye.
I will see you next Wednesday. And great idea, Gail, by the way. I will get an agenda together for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night.
Brianda, will you call me, please? Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
I know that's the last thing you wanted to hear, but if you could call me.